All right, well, you heard it. We are going down San Fernando, and Natalie has the next one. She is going to be speaking with the president of the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, and of course, that is Kiran Singh. All yours, Natalie.
Thank you very much, Carrie. All right, so, we're going down San Fernando. Down there have plenty tempo, according to Calypso Rose. But what we're trying to figure out is if it has plenty sales with the reopening of the retail sector. So let me just welcome the president of the San Fernando Area Chamber of the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, Kiran Singh. Good morning to you, Mr. Singh.
Good morning, Natalie. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. And it's certainly a pleasure to be on the most refreshing morning show in Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you. I don't ever get tired of hearing that at all, I have to say. So,
well,
Kiran,
you do a fantastic job.
Thank you. But Kiran, I know, with the reopening of the retail sector, a lot of people were excited to be out and about. But I just wanted to check on businesses to see, especially in San Fernando, if after 2 days now, if we have any idea as to how the reopening has gone and, just what it looks like.
Yes, well, we certainly were excited to be given the reopening date on Monday 16th, and we did reopen, the majority of us. What was expected did materialize, and that was soft demand, not very long lines at the registers at the various establishments that did open. But we know that over time, the confidence will return to the consumers and business enterprises, and we will see the uptick in sales figures going forward over the next few days, weeks, and as we head into the Christmas season.
Well,
so
yes.
We patiently await those positive results.
I'm surprised that we didn't have the long lines, though, because according to a Newsday article, is that the sales are booming in San Fernando. And not only that, we're talking about the reopening of schools as well on the horizon. So I thought that, a lot of people would have been out and about looking for back-to-school supplies, that kind of stuff. So you didn't get that kind of, numbers that you were looking for?
No, unfortunately. But if we disaggregate the retail sector, obviously there will be some uptick in greater percentages than in others. So, for instance, the food courts weren't as patronized as they were previously. People are still getting back to the idea of purchasing food from the various food courts. And of course, with no in-house dining, that will continue to debilitate that sector to a certain extent. But certainly in the school supplies area, we would see an increase in demand for supplies, stationery, books, arts and craft items, and so on for the kids as the school is going to reopen, whether it's virtually or physically, within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
So we certainly will see that.
So therefore, definitely getting sales in some area. But let's even talk about the food business, because you're right, with the in-house dining still not reopened as yet. But we are having the reopening of the services sector next week. Do you think this will be able to generate some more, movement of people and, just get people up and about and spending more?
We certainly will see increased customers coming onto the streets in downtown San Fernando with those services being reopened. I know especially a lot of the young ladies will be looking to come out and do their nails and makeup and hairstyles and so on. And we certainly will see, and women purchasing power, of course, is all prevailing, and we expect that will increase across the board a level of retail sales increasing. So we look forward to that reopening come Monday, 23rd.
But we're also seeing an increase in prices as well. So while we're expecting that uptake, people, going out and purchasing, do you expect that the increase in prices will also hamper or dampen some of the sales?
Unfortunately, we have going back to the food sector to a certain extent. We have a rise in some of the basic food commodities, oil as a primary example, and certain other creeping food inflation at the grocery shelves. And if this translates into the end of the chain of food prices going up in terms of breakfast, lunch, and so on, you'll see some incremental increases. This, of course, will have a negative impact on the customer who will look to purchase less, look to purchase packaged food items. And of course, that is not good news for us. But we know that with shipping costs increasing exponentially by over 300% within the last year, that has, of course, created a negative impact on inflation. In fact, that what we have is the inability with some importers to meet their challenges in terms of paying the increased prices for containers. There's a high demand for containers across the world. This is causing havoc within the shipping lines. And for us to get our containers on time into the country, it will certainly have a longer wait time to get the goods on the shelves. And they're not only impacting on the grocery items, but we import mostly everything into this country, whether it's for export, manufacturing, agriculture. And so once transport increases and the costs go up, there will be an automatic increase in goods and services across the board, across the country, across the landscape. And we have to bear that in mind and look for the deals in how we purchase and what we purchase. And that is why we continue to maintain that San Fernando is a place to come and get your shopping deals in the country. And it's safe too.
As a matter of fact, I saw a retailer out on a Monday, and she was saying that she went to St. James to buy her stuff because she found that the prices were better there than Port of Spain. Are you suggesting that San Fernando is also cheaper than Port of Spain in, the cost of goods and services?
I'm sure it is. A lot of our members are offering discounts to entice customers to come back to shop. Historically, San Fernando has always been a hub for good deals, good prices. But of course, we have competing business communities throughout the region that will give us a fight for the dollar. But we continue to maintain that San Fernando is a safe environment to shop, and our prices are very competitive for the customer, and where they have to look at value for their money in these very challenging financial and economic times.
Right, but I also know that San Fernando, from my very limited experience there, the traffic, what was that like with the retail sector reopening?
Well, it looks good in that there was heavy traffic Monday morning and yesterday, and it continues today. There's also heavy pedestrian traffic on the streets for the past 2 days. We expect that to continue. Well, I see this morning has started with some very bad weather. It's a thunderstorm in San Fernando right now. But certainly we expect the traffic to continue, and the inquisitiveness of the citizen to come on the streets to be part of the activity will continue. We expect that confidence will return to the customer and the business owner to secure deals, to increase business enterprise, and we will certainly see that traffic converting into sales at the registers in the near future.
Right. And of course, with the availability of vaccines, I'm taking it that the people of the San Fernando and the chambers, that they are getting vaccinated.
What we noticed, and the Ministry of Health did point to this, was that 2 weeks ago, the level of vaccinations had plateaued at a lower level than what prevailed prior to that. And with the influx of the multitude of vaccines, that we now have a wide range of choices of the vaccines. We saw that from last week Sunday at SAPA. There have been long lines into the car parks. In fact, the vehicles were, the Greens and Skinner Park was flooded with cars. And this was a welcome sign in that the uptick in the vaccination process has been indulged in by the citizens, and we are seeing a daily increase of thousands of citizens availing themselves of the multitude of vaccines that are available. And with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on the way, that of course is another choice, which is a one-shot, one-dose vaccine. We will certainly see an uptick in individuals taking this additional vaccine that will be available to the general public. The Pfizer, we know, is for the teenagers, and that is supposed to roll out from today. With the inclement weather, we'll see how that goes in terms of how many people can take up the opportunity to get vaccinated in the morning period. But certainly we are hopeful that the vaccination process will continue increasing as we go along.
And, it's interesting that we're speaking about this, Kiran, because we did have a guest this morning from the Concerned Parents Movement who is raising concerns about the Pfizer vaccine and saying that it's experimental, it doesn't offer immunity, and that, you know, she doesn't see a case of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago, re children and COVID, so that the children should be vaccinated. Is this something that the Chamber has had the opportunity to discuss to see, you know, just where people are with the idea of vaccinating children?
But with the school term about to reopen, inevitably, one way or the other, within the next few weeks, it certainly is a concern to us, many of us are parents. And the challenge we face is that as a concerned parent, would you want your child to be exposed to the virus without the added level of protection? Any death is one too many. We don't want to, of course, increase the infection rate or the mortality rate of any age of any individual, whether they're a national or non-national, where we can control within our borders. And what we have to, while we respect the rights of the individuals and the vaccine is not mandatory, it should be an individual personal responsibility for us to also investigate and do our own research into the vaccine efficacy. What are the pros and cons of taking a vaccine? Consult your medical practitioners. But by and large, from the medical data we have seen worldwide, is that the vaccines are by and large safe, and the death rate from taking a vaccine has not been proven. I haven't heard of anyone dying from taking the vaccine. We did hear about some increase in health concerns with taking different vaccines. I wouldn't go into naming them. That is not. We shouldn't do that. But certainly, we have to be very aware and careful that our health, we have to protect ourselves, and by doing that, we protect our families, our loved ones, our co-workers, our siblings, our parents, the elders, the youth in the nation. And we need to be more responsible. The vaccine was created to help us, and this is the only way out of this pandemic. We have to get vaccinated. There's just no two ways about it for the society to return to normal. We have to take the vaccine, please.
Right. All right. I hear you on that, Kiran, but I understand the concerns of some parents, but as you said, I hope that, you know, people recognize that for the greater good and for all, you know, for the greater good of everybody, that we have to find a way out, and we have to find a safe way out, so that, you know, we can get back to some level of normalcy, as we say. So looking forward to the Christmas season, where sales are concerned.
Yes, of course, we're going to see certainly an increase in sales. It's not going to be anywhere near pre-pandemic levels, but certainly there will be greater activity at the cash registers in practically all retail establishments. Being the retail sector having been closed for so many months, even with respect to the services sector, which has been closed more over a greater timeline than some of the other subsectors within the industry. We're certainly going to see some economic activity being created. We'll see some employment levels being returned to some level of normalcy, because we would have seen unemployment figures, unfortunately, increasing over the lockdown period and even before that, from the onset of the pandemic. So we should see some return. And once the employment levels increase, of course, we see a return of a greater flow of money within the economy, and that generates further demand for goods and services. And it all creates a positive multiplier effect for the entire economy to get back up on its feet again, so that we can see some more positive benefit instead of depending on welfare and handouts and so on. But we can take care of ourselves, especially from a business point of view, within the economic landscape.
And what do you make of the Minister of Finance's words that the economy is doing good, that the outlook looks good for Trinidad and Tobago? Of course, he cited the fact that it's been able to maintain its investment grade rating, that in terms of CARICOM, it's doing better than the other Caribbean islands. In terms of the banking sector is robust, the insurance sector. What do you make of that? Because San Fernando is a business hub, and of course you are aware of all the people who would have lost their jobs, who would have had to take salary cuts, all of that. So how do you marry the two, I think, is what I'm really asking. The reality of what you're seeing on the ground and what the Minister of Finance is sharing, which is also a reality in Trinidad and Tobago as well.
Naturally, that's a loaded question. Very interesting. What has happened is that different rating agencies, different credit rating agencies that are recognized worldwide will give you different results on the economy. And some are based on historical data and some are based on present data. And we have to, first of all, discover what was the time period and time lag in which the data was collected to come to the decision that um, either our credit rating was downgraded or will remain level or stable. Is a question that economists will be answering for a long time to come. But what it does, what we don't want to happen is to see a decrease in investor confidence from a foreign point of view. That if the economy is looked at as being unstable or being downgraded by international financial agencies, that could spell some sort of or send a signal of impending economic disaster in our country, which is what we don't want. Um, of course, the societal point of view to this whole question is the long lines we would have witnessed for hamper distributions over the last several months. And people, you will see the university doing increasing studies on poverty,
Yeah.
increasing in the country, and they have to do they're embarking on different surveys um, throughout different communities to see what the impact of the slowdown in the economy. And it's a global event. It's not just isolated to Trinidad, but the Caribbean region as well. That we will see some negative fallout, and we have to be very wary. We look forward to the Minister of Finance putting together the budget, the financial statement for the next financial year, into what he's going to do to add some impetus from a economic and fiscal point of view to generate activity for the next financial year, because we need help right now, Natalie. The country needs help, and the budget is one of the main financial tools of the government, which sets the pace and the items that are important on the agenda, economically speaking, that the government prioritizes. It was very good news to hear that the Prime Minister talking about diversification. This is an ongoing argument and a conversation that must be carried nationally. We need to, the oil and gas sector is shutting down. We need to find other ways of generating foreign exchange in a positive way so that we can revitalize the economy. And of course, we always look at the agriculture sector to assist in this regard, because our food import bill continues to be extremely high, approaching $1 billion US on an annual basis. This is way beyond the means of the budgetary allocations that we can afford as a society. And with the government in charge of the coffers, they also seem to be limited in their ability to use the resources in a very effective way to ensure that we could generate positive net returns from the investments we make as we go into 2022.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Okay.
I know that the rebound and the rebuilding of the economy, as you say, it's going to take some time, but definitely believe that, as you said, Christmas coming, for the next couple of months, we will see that general rebuilding of the economy and the increase in sales, as people get back to some level of normalcy with the rollout of the vaccines, with the choices in vaccines, and of course, with people being re-employed for those who would have been on the breadline for the past couple of months. So, Kiran, I want to thank you so much for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you, Natalie. It's always a pleasure. And to Trinidad and Tobago, keep blessed, stay safe on the wet roads today, and please go get vaccinated.
All right,
Thanks.
Kiran Singh there, president of the Greater San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, is speaking there to us. You expect sales will go back up too, no? He's saying that it will take time, but over time...
I think it will take time because people need to get back income. I think a lot of people have lost their income. People would be spending, who would be consumers, They lost income, so they have to wait until at the very least, month end.
And that's what he said, that he believes that, people will see the re-employment of people, and therefore, you'll have more disposable income so that people can go out and get what they want.
Income. You will need to be able to make any kind of income, and then you're going to need clothes to go to work. You're going to need food when you're out at work for the day sometimes. So it's all going to work together, but the first part is re-employment.
Correct.
The first part is making sure we don't go back in another lockdown.
Facts.
The best
Big
way to do that, take a vaccine. The best way.
And make sure abide by all the public health protocols.
Yeah.
That's a very important part
critical
of it.
because sometimes I know people, especially who are vaccinated, probably feel a little bit like they could relax a little bit more. But remember that vaccination, which is the point Mrs. Rahim was trying to prove.
That is the point she was making.
That she didn't really bring across properly is that even though you're vaccinated, it does not prevent you from contracting the virus.
That's right.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't protect you from dying from the virus. That you'll get from the vaccine. All right.
Let's take a break and come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Good.